Congratulations, Rebels. You made Sabine relevant. This is the Protector of Concord Dawn. In this episode, the Rebels need to secure a hyperspace route to make it easier to get supplies. And the most convenient route is conveniently through Mandalorian space. So they try to negotiate with the Mandalorians, but they attack, and in the attack, Hera gets injured, which gets Sabine really charged up. But Kanan still insists we should still try and negotiate. We should still try and compromise. So they go back. And they go back, try to negotiate. Things go right. They blow up their ships. They capture the leader, who is now their prisoner. And it was a good episode with some exceptions. First off, let me say this. Henry Gilroy is not the best writer out there. He's not. I mean, he's not a terrible writer, but he's not a brilliant writer. But I have to give him a lot of credit for writing so much of season two. I mean, I wish there were more writers, so like writers could individualize episodes more. But I mean, the fact that this guy's writing most of the season on his own, and the fact that he's able to more or less make them passable is an accomplishment. I wish he had more time to flesh each one out, but still, good work. And because this is a really good, substantial episode with characters, morals, and ethics, and everything, and honestly felt like a Clone Wars episode. The thing I liked was the characters had character. For one thing, it was nice to see Kanan sort of acting like a Jedi, the mediator, the negotiator, and you also had conflicting personalities. You had Sabine being the more hot-headed, violent person who because she's a Mandalorian, she fights. And I like how it sort of makes sense for the characters that act like this. Kanan's a Jedi, so of course he'd be calm, trying to keep to his training, whereas Sabine's a bit more driven, and especially given the fact that Hera was injured, that would serve as a spark. And it was also great because it finally gave Sabine some relevance in the episode, particularly when she bumps, because Mandalorians, it makes it personal for her, it justifies her going on the mission. And it was also nice just to have like two characters on a mission. It's a lot more tighter, a lot more focused. The way Sabine's backstory is real, we get a lot more Sabine's backstory. At times I feel like the writers put a little too much thought into the Mandalorian culture and not enough into the story, but I did like how Sabine's backstory, we got little nuggets here and there, like one bit that potentially her mom's Bo-Katan, but what I liked is that, again, when she said information, it felt natural. It felt like something that a character would say in that circumstance. It didn't feel like characters spouting exposition back at each other. Let's see. I like the new lead character. I like the conversation him and Kanan have. It felt very natural. It was the first villain on the show that actually felt human. He didn't feel two-dimensional. He had a code. He had an honor system and clear motivations, except for the end. I feel like the ending, his turnaround got a little rushed. I mean, that's one problem Rebels tends to have, is I feel like the resolutions to episodes tend to be kind of rushed. And a lot of that I feel like comes from the fact that they're doing 20-minute episodes. I feel like this show would benefit from doing more arcs. Like his sudden surrender. I mean, they explain it in a monologue, but even so, I feel like they could have done a bit more. And then they also do the thing where they just, at the end, they'll like sum up what the message is. And it's like, trust that I'm smart enough to figure out the message. Don't spell it out. I know this is a 10-year-old. The show is for 10-year-olds. Well, at least it's geared towards little kids. But trust me, little kids are smart. They can figure stuff out. Again, like, it's sort of like Aladdin. Like, any kid can sort of figure out the message of Aladdin is about being yourself. Like, we don't need characters constantly saying that, although I'm sure the inevitable live-action Disney remake will do it. Animation was good, looks gorgeous. It was nice to see a new planet. I mean, it was a little simple and barren, but again, I appreciate that. It was probably recycled a bit from the Mandalorian camps of Clone Wars, though, but again, it was nice to see them using new settings, even if they're recycled. I hope they design new and original planets that are interesting, but I mean, if they don't, I mean, again, limited time, limited money, whatever. The space battle was really good. I liked Sabine sneaking around, destroying the ships. I'm trying to think what else. Again, like, animation's gotten better. Characters' faces were pretty well animated. I didn't notice a lot of default face. And I liked how they kept the Clone Wars references minimal. You could pretty much get this episode if you hadn't watched Clone Wars or Rebels. I like the little tie into the comic about how Kanan knew this guy from the Battle of Megiddo. It was probably a thing they wrote for the show and then they put in the comics, but it was a little nugget, and I also liked how it's a little nugget, so it's one of those things, if you read the comic, you're like, oh, cool, but if you haven't read it, it's not like you're missing a major chunk of information. That's what I like about the Kanan comics. They give more substance and context for what's happening now, but they aren't essential. Like, you don't need to read them to get Kanan. You should read it because it's much better than the show, in my opinion, but it's not. It's good. And on the note of Clone Wars, it's still a bummer that we don't get to see the finished Clone Wars episodes. The writers do talk a bit about the Siege of Mandalore, this big final battle in the Clone Wars, which would have been the series finale. Like, the writers have confirmed that, and hopefully we get that story at some point, especially considering how essential it is. We should see it, and I get the sense in the behind-the-scenes content, the writer's like, yeah, come on, Disney, thanks for canceling the Clone Wars. We had this awesome Mandalorian arc planned. Only ever so yeah, better episode, better writing, just a little rushed here and there. This is another criticism I have is something that I just see from the clips, which is that when Hera got injured, I wish she had stayed injured. Like, that's a severe injury, and I don't know, it would have been interesting to see her out of action for a while, because, you know, would be a raise stakes, shake the show up, but next episode she's completely fine, so I mean, it's a bummer, but I mean, I get it, just for the episode, but it is a bummer, because it would, if it was a major interest, you would give Sabine's rage a bit more context. I mean, it's like if she was near death, if she could be dying, if she's critically wounded, that would give Sabine a bit more rage, but if it's one of those, oh, she's wounded, but an episode in the hospital, then she's fine, I feel like that doesn't back Sabine up enough. I mean, I feel like, I mean, there's enough there, but it would have given an extra insight, and also would have given a bit more stakes. So yeah, good episode. I mean, again, I feel like the writers sometimes put a little too much on backstories more, but again, it wasn't as exposition-y as Force as the last one. And hopefully that's true for the next episode, Legacy of Lasan. It's going to be a Zeb episode from the looks of things, and I'm kind of mixed on it. It feels like another one of those conveniences, like, oh, you didn't tell us, but for the sake of the pop, but we'll see. I mean, Hondo's back, so hopefully that'll be good. But again, we'll have to wait and see. So, what'd you think of this episode? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Comment and let me know. And as always, like, dislike, comment, subscribe. And this is JStar60, and may the Force be with you.